Welcome to Evil Unmasked, where the shadows of history reveal their darkest secrets. I'm your host, Sierra Elizabeth. As a criminal justice and criminology graduate, I've always been drawn to the mysteries that lurk beneath the surface of everyday life. This podcast is dedicated to uncovering and discussing the truth behind some of the most chilling and intriguing cases in true crime history. In each episode, we'll deep dive into a different case, exploring the evidence, unraveling the clues, and bringing you the stories of the victims and the relentless pursuit of justice. From infamous serial killers to unsolved mysteries, no case is too complex or too obscure for me to tackle. You could say that many of us are healthily obsessed with true crime, at least as healthy as an obsession with true crime can be. But today, I want to explore a case where one woman, Jung Yoo-jung, crossed a dangerous line, letting her fascination with crime consume her in the most horrifying way. This is Evil Unmasked. Let's begin. I also apologize for the pronunciation of these names. This case took place in South Korea, so we will try our best. Jung Yoo-jung's childhood was marked by hardship. Her father abandoned her when she was just 6 years old, which followed her mother's departure when she was only 1. Raised in South Korea by her grandfather, Jung's life was one of isolation, with few details known about her beyond her unemployment since high school. Living a secluded life with her grandfather, she found an escape in true crime shows and novels, becoming deeply obsessed with the dark mysteries of the world. This fascination with true crime seemed to fill the void in her lonely existence, growing into something far more dangerous. By the age of 23, Jung Yoo-jung's obsession with true crime had escalated to a terrifying new level. The thrill of watching shows and reading novels was no longer enough. She became fixated on the idea of, quote, trying out a murder, to use her own words. For months, she meticulously searched for a target using an app to contact over 50 women, posing as the mother of a high school student in need of English lessons. But the tutor had to meet a specific criteria. They needed to teach from their own home and also live alone. After a long search, she finally found the perfect match, a university student and freelance tutor who fit her requirements. On May 26, 2023, around 5:30 p.m., Jung Yoo-jung arrived at the tutor's home in Busan, South Korea, dressed in a school uniform she had purchased online, pretending to be a student ready for her English lesson. Once the tutor let her in, Jung launched a violent attack, stabbing the woman over 100 times, continuing even after her victim had succumbed to the brutal assault. After satisfying her twisted urge, Jung changed into the woman's clothes and left the scene to buy trash bags and bleach. She then returned to the home, dismembered the body, and placed the remains in the trash bags. Security footage later revealed Jung returning to the victim's home with a suitcase from her own residence, which she would use to transport the grisly contents. Jung went so far as to sever the victim's fingers, hoping to make identification more difficult. Afterward, she took a taxi to a remote park near the Nakdong River, where she disposed of the suitcase containing the remains. However, her attempt to cover her tracks quickly unraveled. The taxi driver, suspicious of the blood-soaked suitcase, contacted the police to report the alarming incident. Despite her deep obsession with true crime, Jung proved to be far less adept to evading capture. The bloodied suitcase and incriminating security footage sealed her fate, leaving little doubt of her guilt.
소통해서 이제 캐리어 열어보니까 캐리어 안에 뭐 입장국도 있고 신분증도 있고 신분증에 보니까 또 우리 금정구 주민이었어요. 집에 가보니까 돈의 흔적이 있는 거예요. 그녀를 이제 거기서 지금 긴급 체포했고요.
Jung Yoo-jung was arrested on May 27th, just one day after her identity was made public. When police arrived to question her, she initially claimed that she had only moved the body and that someone else was responsible for the murder. But the evidence against her was overwhelming. When she was handed over to the prosecution, she faced the public for the first time, her face obscured by a mask and a large hat. Upon her arrival at the police station, she was administered the psychopathy checklist revised, a test used to assess psychopathic tendencies. While the average score in South Korea is around 15 out of 40, police reported that Jung's score exceeded this average. Though the exact number wasn't disclosed, A score above 25 is typically considered indicative of psychopathy, further solidifying the chilling nature of her crime. The autopsy revealed the horrific extent of Jung's brutality. She had, quote, stabbed the victim in multiple parts of her body, including non-fatal areas such as her palm, in addition to the fatal wounds that caused her death, unquote, according to prosecutors cited by the Korea Jung-ang Daily. As investigators dove into Jung's personal life, they uncovered a disturbing pattern in her browsing history. For months, she had been researching how to kill someone and dispose of a body, even going so far as to check out books from the library to assist in her grim preparations. Quote, in order to make it look like the victim had disappeared, Jung kept the victim's mobile phone, ID, and wallet, attempting to commit a perfect crime, end quote, police said. However, all of these items were eventually found, along with the blood-stained suitcase containing the woman's body. 1 month after her arrest, in June, Jung confessed to the crime, pleading for a lesser sentence by claiming she suffered from hallucinations and other mental disorders. But her argument was swiftly rejected. The court noted that the crime was carefully planned and carried out, and pointed that her statements had frequently changed. Thus, it is difficult to accept her claim of mental and physical disorder, the court concluded, dismissing her plea for leniency. Quote, it looks like Jung Yoo-jung's psychopathy awakened while she was living in an isolated life for a long time, remarked Bae Sang-hoon, a criminal profiler and police administration professor at Woosuk University. It looks like she was not able to think about the next step after the alleged murder, as she was so into the desire of killing a person, Bae explained. What shocked experts even more was how unnervingly calm she remained during and after the crime. A person normally panics and becomes terrified when they kill someone, even if they are a criminal, but the scene shows no sign of panic or horror, Lee Soo-jung, a forensic psychology professor at Kairagi University, told YTN. He called her attitude very unusual, highlighting the chilling detachment she exhibited throughout the entire ordeal. When Jung Yoo-jung confessed to the murder, she attributed her actions to fascination with true crime, claiming that crime shows had sparked her interest. However, experts contend that her obsession cannot be solely blamed for her horrific crime. There are millions of people, just in the United States, that would probably consider themselves huge true crime fans, but obviously you don't see millions of people going out and murdering someone just because they are curious, explains behavioral scientist Colton Scrivener to A&E True Crime. It takes a lot of additional personality traits and predispositions in order for someone to actually commit a murder. Maybe combined with many other things, an obsession with true crime could be somewhat predictive, but so are a lot of other traits. So while the fascination with true crime might be intriguing, it's reassuring to know that most of us are unlikely to be driven to such extreme actions. Hopefully. The Korea Herald reported that prosecutors discovered Jung had called her father before the murder, making remarks that resembled death threats. Additionally, she had searched for terms related to killing close relatives on an online search engine, according to officials in a news report. It is clear that Jung's obsession with crime would have likely deepened had she not been so reckless during her initial attack. Jung was convicted of murder, desecration of a corpse, and abandonment of a body. In November of 2023, she was sentenced to life in prison, though prosecutors had sought the death penalty. The judge highlighted that murder had spread fear in society that one can become a victim for no reason. It incited general distrust. Jung was also ordered to wear an electronic monitoring device for 30 years, which I thought was strange due to her life sentence in prison. As she left the Busan Dongnae police precinct, she said, quote, I apologize to the victim and her family. I must have been out of my mind, end quote. Tragically, the identity of Jung Yoo-jung's victim remains unknown, which causes her to be overshadowed by the intense focus on the perpetrator. In South Korea, authorities typically disclose the identity of suspects, including their name, photo, and year of birth, when the case meets certain criteria, such as public interest in the identity of violent criminals. Yet, as of this recording, the victim's name has not been revealed, forcing the spotlight to remain on Jung rather than honoring the individual who suffered a senseless loss. It's a sobering reminder of how the personal stories of victims can sometimes be overshadowed by the sensational aspects of criminal cases. In March 2024, the highest court upheld Jung Yoo-jung's life imprisonment sentence, rejecting her appeal that argued her punishment was excessively harsh. The court determined that the sentence was appropriate given the severity of her crimes. It is truly astonishing how an obsession with true crime could drive a 23-year-old woman to commit such a brutal murder of a stranger. Her fascination with crime, initially a passive interest, blurred the lines between reality and fantasy, transforming her from a mere observer into a ruthless perpetrator. This disturbing case highlights how consuming passion can devolve into a dangerous fixation, ultimately leading to devastating consequences. Thank you for tuning in to this chilling episode of Evil Unmasked. Today we dove into the chilling case of Jung Yoo-jung. If you found this episode compelling, be sure to subscribe and leave a review to help others discover my podcast. For more updates and behind-the-scenes content, follow me on Instagram at evil.unmasked or on X at evil_unmasked. If you have any case suggestions or stories you would like to hear, please visit me at evilunmasked.com.